DJ Dewey rock on the track.
Welcome to Emerge Podcast 360. I'm your host, Maserati. We want to thank you for tuning in. No matter where you are in this metaverse world, we greatly appreciate it. We want to thank for all the likes, shares, and subscriptions on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter thus far. We have a great show in line for you. We have a very special guest. As promised, we got him in the building. We have Put, one of our own Scrap City's legend in the military, is on the show today. He went on to Shreveport, where he graduated from Green Oaks High School in 1992, and he went on to Community College of the Air Force, where he graduated in 2008, and another degree in 2012. He held a position as the SUAF Phase 2 Supplemental and Advanced Medical Training Director, where he oversaw all enlisted medical clinical training to include advanced nursing. He has been a volunteer for several organizations and nonprofits throughout the San Antonio, Texas area, the San Antonio Boys and Girls Clubs, the Rites of Passage, Youth United Against Drugs and Gangs, Hope for the Hood, San Antonio Food Bank, and the Antioch Transformation Network and Action Sweep over San Antonio. He has retired as an E6 from the Air Force. He now is the owner of Patrick D. Stewart, LLC, retired as an NCO from the United States Air Force. Now he's the lead facility manager, medical education and training campus in San Antonio, Texas. He's affiliated school Lazion Community College of the Air Force, where he is also now the associate minister of Antioch Missionary Baptist Church of San Antonio, Texas. This is being brought to you by Involved Civic Club, where we understand the social and civic need of love, learn, live, and last. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Scrap City's own retired Sergeant E6, Patrick Dewayne Stewart. Put, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, what's going on, brother Maserati? My boy, a.k.a. Boo. Man, it is a blessing to hear your voice, man, and I'm just excited to be with you on tonight. Thank you for having me on. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to be with you, man, and I'm thankful to Immerse Podcast, Immerse 360 Podcast, and the sponsors who have got behind you on what you're doing, man. It is truly a blessing on what you're doing, and kudos to what you're doing, and I'm looking to see even more from what you're doing for the community. And Bastrop abroad.
Right. You know, you like a big brother, man. When you moved away, you and Barry, it hurt a lot of hearts, man, because I remember every day we was waiting on y'all to come through on the bicycles to get the day started, bro. So your love, man, and the feedback we're getting from just having you on the show is remarkable. Kind of inform the people on how you came up in the Scrap and how it was for us growing up over there in Forest Park and Po Folks Groceries.
Well, you know, Barry and I both, one thing we always say is, you know, it's never a child's decision to necessarily move. Mom had to move for her professional advancement, and we followed along with her. We are thankful that she did what she had to do, but we went kicking and screaming, and we actually went with tears and swole faces because we had grown up in this great city that had nurtured us and gave us our foundation, and we are always grateful and thankful to Bastrop. Growing up in Bastrop was a blessing, man. I just think back to my childhood, and I'm forever grateful. Like you said, coming through on the bikes, just the people and the friends that we grew up with on 603 Haynes, right there down the street from Poor Folks Grocery, man. Just sitting on the bridge sometime, hanging out. Miss Henry and all those other little stores that not only gave us snacks to eat, but what they also did, they took time and took us to the side, taught us how to count, how to count money and everything else. it was so much that of a foundation that was there, educational wise. All my teachers, who just some happened to be family members, how they poured into us. The church, Second Baptist. I grew up in Second Baptist. Reverend White and your grandfather, Deacon Anderson. Man, I mean, these people just poured into us. So my foundation was made strong. Forest Park, man, I can't tell you how many days I learned how to play baseball by not only watching the greats that came through Forest Park, but they allowed us to go out there and catch balls as youngsters. So we were able to chase down these foul balls. I learned how to play basketball right there across the street, so it was just a blessing. Bastrop was so foundational for me educationally, athletically, and then socially. Because I truly grew up with some brothers who were getting themselves together, and we were able to pour into each other. We really had dialogue back then, and I'm just appreciative, even to see what you're doing again and others. So that's my foundation in Bastrop, man. Just growing up with some wonderful, wonderful people. My great aunt who raised me, Melissa Woods, and she was everything to me. And she made sure that Barry and I got up every morning, and we went and worshiped on Sundays, and we walked the west side and got that education, So we're always grateful to the city that gave us the foundation of who we are.
Right. And man, one thing about, since we grew up and we become adults now, we look back on our childhood, and one thing I see missing put in Bastrop is that these kids, they don't have older people to talk to like we did. It was days we would just park our bikes and remember sit on the porch with Miss Mamie or talk to Miss Ann Lee. We had an older generation that we could conversate with. What did you see growing up in Shreveport?
When we moved to Shreveport, I was blessed. A lot of people didn't know. I don't even think they knew I left. But what a lot of people don't know with the transition of my family was, even though I have so much family between Bastrop and Oak Ridge, I also have family in Shreveport already. My great-grandmother was already there. My great aunts, and they were my grandmother's sisters and brothers actually in Shreveport. So going to Shreveport, it was definitely I still have that foundation there as far as the elders. They took me in. They always watched out for me, and they had already laid foundation. My uncle, he actually came from Bastrop, Uncle Charles Stewart, who just passed away actually in December of this past year. He had graduated from Bastrop High School and moved on to Shreveport, and he had made his home there for years, and he made a strong foundation for himself out there. So when I got to Shreveport, they dropped me off, I always say it, in the best place I could have ever been, and that is the Cooper Road. Cooper Road, USA. That's my home. That was my second home coming out of Bastrop. But as rough as it was, my Uncle Charles and everybody had laid foundation up there as well. So the Stewart name was there, and I was already accepted when I got there. The elders were very much present for me. But unfortunately, when I got there in 88, early 88, there was the push of gang violence that came into the city real quick. A lot of people were leaving California. They were either fleeing because they were being wanted on drug charges and gang charges, or they were just moving drugs. And one of the things that we have to understand is the gang violence itself and the claiming of the sets was never really about a blue and a red. It was about somebody who had figured out how to move drugs at the exploitation of young black youth. And they used a lot. And I saw a lot of our classmates who were relatives in this community. And I saw a community actually split into, what they did was, they took one street and they split it into one side of the community, became Rolling 60s, and the other one became 5 Deuce Hoover. And these were actually family members. And just to see them tear at each other was heartbreaking. But the elders were still there. They were still trying to do what they had to do. But they were there. But unfortunately, sometimes our ears are closed to them. But I was always open because that was my foundation.
Right. And, you guys were in Shreveport, and we always wondered when the 80s hit, around the mid, late 80s, we wondered what you guys was up to in Shreveport. And I always wondered how you guys were able to avoid being in them games, because we knew you guys was on the Cooper Road. We heard things about the Cooper Road. It's kind of similar to the Yard Boys in Monroe. How were you guys actually able to avoid that going to school? Explain that to us, bro.
Simply by the gift of grace. Honestly, it was the gift of grace that got us through. We were blessed tremendously, obviously with a good family, but at the same time, what we had was we had old heads that really, there's a decision. Either you're going to join the gang or either, I think one of the rappers, I couldn't remember which one, said either you join the gang or you got a wicked jump shot. Well, Barry and I we were involved in sports, so they kind of left us alone. Even though we had a heavy influence all the time of gang violence right outside of our windows, literally right outside of our windows, it didn't go down like that. And I remember the confrontations that I had to have, and I had to step out, where we had basically meetings outside of our window, not even 5 to 6 feet away, and we could hear them outside of our apartment just cutting up, cursing, and everything else. And I remember one time my mom went outside, and a couple old heads out there at the same time, and this was, I think, was the breaking point for me. Anybody who knew Papa at the same time knew I had a temper, so I didn't mind fighting. I didn't mind holding my own. And what happened was this: one of the hardest cats out there, man. He was when my mom went out and actually could they hold it down. When she got ready to come back in, he dropped the B word on her, like he wasn't gonna do it. So that was it for me. So even though it was a whole gang out there, I really didn't care. This was a respect thing. So I went out and I confronted him, but I think it shocked him to see that I confronted him, and he and I ended up becoming best of friends. So it was one of those things where pulled to the side, and him and a couple other buddies would actually save me later on in that same complex. They had some gentlemen that came, I say gentlemen, but some young boys that came from Cali, some other Ubers, and one of the guys, I was outside one night, and I was talking to some young ladies, and he kept, waving me over, and as finally I said, okay, let me see what this guy wants. Now I make a corner to see what he wants, and I had a 38 in my face, staring down the barrel, asking me to come out of my jumpsuit. I had my white Lakers jumpsuit on, man. I couldn't come out of there, right? So first off, I wasn't even supposed to be outside that late. So what happened was he kept asking me to come out. True story, but what I told him was, I said, man, look, you got to be blood all over this jumpsuit. And the other thing is, I looked at him, I said, look, my mama don't even know I'm outside. So I was more in fear of my mom knowing I was outside than actually taking this gunshot. So the guys came around the corner, and they told me, man, look, that's homeboy. You know what I'm saying? That's neighborhood. So he put it down, and we went on about our day. But that's how we did it, man. We played ball. We did what we had to do. We grinded on the court out there. We brought it to Green Oaks, and they received us as brothers. And we're forever grateful to them because they had a lot of our foundation as well. So, forever grateful to them.
Right, and I know, bro. When I was just going to ask you about that, knowing coming up and growing with you, you had that temper, bro. And I was wondering, man, how Put made it through Shreveport, and I see now you never stop putting them hands on people. When we come back, we want you to talk about the military, man. How you come from the Pine Woods of Bastrop to Shreveport, and not only go to the military, but you end up working for the Air Force and the Navy. When we come back with this intermission from Sgt.Patrick Put Stewart, we'll be right back. Welcome back. We're still here with retired E6 Patrick Dewayne Stewart, a.k.a. Putt Putt. Putt Putt, talk to us, bro. Y'all went to Green Oaks High School. You left there, you went on, and you went to the military, bro. Explain to us about that journey, Putt Putt, in the military.
It was quite the journey. A lot of people, a lot of actually good friends of mine know that I first attended. I was playing for Southern University, Shreveport at the time, and then I transferred to Grambling. While at Grambling, man, I was just enjoying the time there, but I really got in touch. I wanted to change myself, and I was at home during a break, and during that break, Christmas break of '96, December '96, man, I just rededicated my life to Christ. And when I did that, I got back to Grambling that spring semester, early in the spring semester, and 2 days in, guys were right back to doing what they were doing. Now, here's the deal. What I recognized was first and foremost that I was one who made the change in my life, and I couldn't dictate what they did at theirs, and I knew I had to make a change. Well, my Uncle Richard, Patrick Hall, Bastrop High legend, as I call him, you know what I'm saying? So Uncle Richard had already attended the Air Force Academy. He had flown in the Air Force. He was always a big influence, and he was one of my best friends. So I was able to talk to him, and he really influenced me to join the Air Force. He wanted me to hold off, but I was ready to make a move at the time. So I just jumped off, and I would just encourage anybody under the sound of my voice that when you're getting ready to make a decision, if you've made that decision and you know it's time to move. And that's what I ended up having to do. I ended up moving. Don't wait. Don't try to balance everything out. When God says move. And I ended up moving. I joined the Air Force in '97, man, and I never looked back. It was just a beautiful experience. Joining the Air Force and being a foundation with everything. I went to Grambling. I had a number of my friends that actually got commissioned, so we all kept in touch. And I'll tell you something funny. So as I get to my first duty, I'm in New Mexico, and I'm coming to meet Uncle Richard at a Tuskegee Airmen convention in downtown San Antonio. I'm leaving New Mexico, where I said, "Hey, I got to go over to see my friend. She's getting promoted today over at Brooks." He said, "Okay, well, when you get back, we'll all go out to dinner." Well, he said, "I got a friend from Bastrop, and we need to connect with him later on." I said, "Okay, smooth." So when I get over to the promotion, my friend Cecily, she's getting promoted. And when she's getting promoted, her commander at the time, who was promoting her, was Lieutenant Colonel Cliff Jackson, and from Bastrop. And that's who we were actually meeting that night. I'm telling you, it's a small world. So it was just how that connection just worked. So meeting, seeing Cliff and my Uncle Richard and just sitting there and talking with them, it just gave me the push to be able to succeed and to do great things. The Air Force was just a good push for me. I was surrounded by even people from Bastrop. Tina Hall at the time when she was in Bastrop, Tina McMillan. Yes, these are all influences that I was able to grab hold of while I was in the Air Force, and it was just a blessing. These are people right from Bastrop, with Beekman and everything. So these were great people I was able to influence. So surrounded by certain people, what you have to understand is, look, it should push you. You should be around people who push you to greater. And I kept myself surrounded by others, so it made me do better.
Right. I see you accomplished a lot of things while you were there in the Air Force and in the military. How were you able to balance it all out, being from Bastrop, man, and the duties that you have? I'm looking at your ranking. You had duties well above your ranking. Explain to the people how you were able to accomplish that, Put.
It's what we call it positional authority. So a lot of people may have outranked me, but I held positional authority over a lot of different people. So it was always strange, but it was all about trust and being surrounded by leaders who poured into you. Actually, I would, if I were to go back, I would even say my leadership started hanging with you guys, hanging with people on the back street, the Tyrone Jones and the Derek Hammonds and Amy and Bernard and Ruffin Mason, all those guys. They trusted me then, even as a leader. Athena, everybody, Muffin, Drina, all these people trusted me even back then. So I was able to pull on that. This So it was already instilled in me. So I just appreciate the heavies and the berries and everybody just pouring into me and allowing me to be that guy. That really just transcended into what I did. So yeah, so I was able to wake up one morning and I went to work one day, and next thing you know, they told me don't put my bag down. And at the end of the day, I was leading the Air Force's largest immunizations clinic here in San Antonio, and that's the DoD wise. So Department of Defense wise, I was able to lead the largest DoD immunizations clinic in DoD. Second to that, I would say the other blessing that I was able to do is in the transition of my supervisor. Instead of her waiting and promoting somebody else, she ended up saying, "Look, I want you to take over course enlisted lead for the AMSA, which is the career field, the medics, and the Navy corpsmen program." So I was able to take that course enlisted lead spot and take off with it. And these are all things that I was always serious about education and seeing that others get their education. The other thing is I had already been through enough and been through so much that these were also positions that held an emotional spot for me too. So I wanted to see it get done. There's nothing more to me, whether it's in basic training or in technical training, to understand that there are parents who are sending their kids to me and to others who are under me. And I had to make sure that we did right by their kids. I had to give them not only the tools to win, but I had to make sure that the instructors that were in front of them were giving every effort that they had to push them to their best. So that's what I did. It was an emotional thing for me. And then finally, when you talked about the Phase 2 clinical lead spot, that medical director spot, that was probably the highlight of my career before I retired. And I was able to actually be over 14 different hospitals in the United States Air Force, where we did multiple trainings for all of our clinical training, whether it be radiology, med lab, you name it, whatever enlisted career field that had a clinical aspect to their training. Once they leave here to San Antonio, I had to go out and visit all of those spots to make sure, again, that those people were conducting training. Also, when we received nurses in, from colleges and whatnot, nurse transition programs. So that fell under my watch as well. The emergency nursing, PACU, all those things fell under us, and it was just a blessing, man, to have that responsibility, and to have the Surgeon General's office for force development trust me to do the right thing. And I still keep relationships with those offices, and they still keep in touch with me, and I'm always forever grateful to them.
Right. We see that you also had some Navy experience. Now, how were you able to work in the Air Force and the Navy? Please explain. Please explain, bro. Please.
So for those who don't know, man, everything is changing. There was a dream of what's called a purple service, where one day we always have one medic. That's the idea of the whole medical education and training campus. So in 2010, when I began teaching, the BRAC had already, the base realignment and committee had already started working on combining all of these career fields. Well, I got in on the ground floor. So I'm a plank holder to that. And while doing that plank holding, we were able to, now we're consolidating all these courses. And one of these courses just happened to be the Navy corpsmen. That is their fundamental corpsmen. All of their medics come through this course school, and the Air Force medics. So initially we were separated, and then we all just got together. And when we got together, I tell you, it was some, as they say, some gnashing of teeth. But I tell you what, they say they curse like sailors. They really do. And you asked earlier, how did I control my temper and everything? Well, I'll be attending a funeral this weekend in Shreveport for Coach Willie Stevens, who was one of the girls coaches at Green Oaks High School. But he poured into me greatly. And one of the things that he told me, even then, like I said, I got into it with a number of the different, different sets or whatever you want to call it. But he told me, Pat, you can't fight everybody. So just those simple words changed my life, man. And I couldn't fight everybody. But when I came into when we got to this Navy Air Force meshing, we were looked at as soft. And finally, I just had to let them know in so many words, like, and it was some in their choice of words, like, look, somehow or the other, you think I was born in the Air Force. I'm not from the Air Force, you know. So here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna talk to me like a man. We're gonna get this thing done. We're gonna push past culture, and we're gonna get it done. And they were able to understand me, and I was able to understand them. And the bottom line again is, it's not about me. It's about these kids. They're joining, these 17 and 21 and 25-year-olds are joining the military for the start of a new life. I don't need you in front of them with Air Force stories and sea stories. I need you in front of them with the ability to teach the objectives and get them to pass. Don't worry about attrition rates. I don't want to hear about attrition rates. I want to hear about what you can do to go beyond the attrition rate. You know, it's all right, Boo, sometimes to know what the failure rate is, but even what you're doing with this podcast, again, anybody on the sound of my voice, we can count the numbers, but understand that whether it be Bastrop or Shreveport, especially with Bastrop City, because I'm talking directly to you, you are from fertile ground. You are from fertile ground, and the success that has come out of that ground is amazing. So to have these voices that have come before you already, and those that are right beside you in the community, listen to them. They're still among you. Our elders are still among you. You can do it. So my thing was, I'm always a champion of, yes, I know that there is failure. I know that the failure rate is there, but I also know that there's the ability to push past the failure rate and lower it. And that's what we have to do. And that's what you're doing with this podcast. Again, I appreciate you.
Right, Put. You know, like I told you earlier, we trying to change this narrative about Bastrop, man. This is not the place I grew up in. I don't like the tabloids saying we one of the worst cities in America. I really don't appreciate that, and I don't like the fact that that light hasn't been shed on a lot of our pioneers that we looked up to coming up. But I want you to share with the people, through your military experience, what have you gained the most, and what was your biggest accomplishment in that period of time?
Man, you know, that's a great question. So I tell you this, going back again to foundation. So the first thing you learn, one of the first things you learn when you come in, and actually we were just getting it in 97 when I came in, and that was implementation of our core values of integrity, service before self, and excellence in all we do. So when we have that integrity, that service before self, and that excellence with all we do attitude, they thought that they had to teach that to me. All they had to teach me was what it was. Okay, these are core values. Okay, because the truth is, the core values were already in me. I already had those. Those were things that I was taught as a child, but sometimes we have to give it to adults. The integrity, the service, those pieces are already in us from a young age, and I got that serving at Second Baptist, going to school at Westside. I really did. These were great teachers who poured into us. Miss Pauline Smith always made sure I told the truth. And if she didn't, and if I did, she'd probably beat me to the house before school is out. But these were things that were always sold into us. So for me to transition that to the military, it was actually pretty simple for me. The other thing was, being in the medical field, the greatest achievement for me is even now sitting in my position as faculty management over at the medical education and training campus, is seeing my instructors come back. Seeing my students come back as instructors. And that tells me that they had somebody in front of them, and they tell me, man, I appreciated you so much. You made the difference. I was able to actually call out other instructors on integrity pieces where they were ready to kick people out. And I was like, no, that's not what we're going to do. You know, this is the route that we would do, holding people to the letter. Because one thing I can tell you about the military is everything's in black and white in instruction. But sometimes we don't know how to read. And knowing your history, know how to read, knowing what's expected is expected out of you, it's all written. So these were things that I was given as a kid. Know how to read. Know how to reading for comprehension as well. So these are things that I just put into practice, and when I put heart behind it, that's all I did. And I tell my students all the time, look, I can teach you a skill, when it comes to this career field. And we talk about healthcare, but there is two words, that's health and care. I can teach you the skills, you have to care. And that's the thing about it in any field of, and especially with medical. And to see my students come back, it's a blessing. So one of my biggest blessings is my son, right? I always use him for an example. My son was born with pulmonary hypertension. He was born not breathing, and they had to fight like the Dickens to save his life. Well, here's the testimony I have to my Air Force career in that. And when you give your all, when my wife went into labor, they were ready to send her home. But it was actually my first students, my first class in 2010, one of my students from my first class who I trained. She said, no. I looked at her. She said, keep her. I said, keep her. Boom. She spoke to the doctor and the staff. They kept my wife. They had to do an emergency C-section the next Sunday morning. All right. My wife never saw the child. She cried like nobody's business. Next thing you know, watching her, my student went in, took a picture of my son, brought it back to her. She had never seen it. This was her first time seeing it because they had to take him immediately to the NICU to try to save him. During that time while he was in the NICU, again, we're still not seeing him, but all of a sudden we start getting word back because people realize whose son he is. Now, it's God's child, but I'm just blessed to call him father. But, to call him son, he called me father. But during that time, two of the NICU techs peeked their head out, and they said, hey, let Sgt.Stewart know it's us. And I looked, and it's two of my old students who I had taught, who I believed in. I knew that I had graduated two great students. Well, he had to be on a vent. Well, he had to be on multiple vents because he was tearing through them. Well, guess what? I had another student who I graduated. True story. And I cross-trained over into respiratory. This person was operating the vent. This is the story of what you'll live your life. It's called legacy. And when you have a legacy of doing the right thing, that's what will happen. It's not all about you. It's about you planting the seed and the harvest. You don't know how it's going to come back to you. So I don't necessarily count it toward me. I count it toward his life. And that's my greatest legacy right now so far, being in the military.
Right. And that's a remarkable story right there. I didn't know that about PS2 Patrick Dewayne Stewart II. He a soldier too already. He already overcame a lot of obstacles, and I know that made you feel even better to look down the hallway and see some of your own, and that could kind of help you relax. But when we come back, I noticed you said one thing: it's not your son; he belongs to the Father, and you was happy that you can be his father and he can call you father. But we want to talk about your ministry and your elevation and evolving spiritually, and we want to talk about your new LLC when we return with E6 retired Patrick Dewayne Stewart, a.k.a. Putt Putt, when we return.
DJ Dewey rock on the track. DJ Dewey rock on the track.
Welcome back. We're glad you're still with us. We're still here with retired E6 Sergeant Patrick Dewayne Stewart, Squap City's own Putt Putt. Patrick, when we left, we were talking about the miracle with your son and how it make you feel so good to see your legacy attend to your son, the very ones you graduated through the nursing program to aid your son back to health and great condition. Explain to people about your ministry and what you're trying to do now with your new LLC titled Patrick D. Stewart. Talk to the people, Pat.
Yes, I accepted my call into the ministry in 2009. 2009, I accepted my call to the ministry here in San Antonio at the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. My pastor at the time, the Reverend Dr. E. Thurman Walker, he would later pass away that same year. And I've been blessed to have the leadership of my pastor, Dr. Kenneth R. Kemp, just right up the road from us, actually from Bastrop, Tucker, Arkansas. He's a UAPB grad. So we often joke about Grambling versus UAPB. So that's my guy. So having his spirit and that hometown feel with him is always a blessing. So God makes no mistakes, and he put me right under the leadership that I needed to be in. Who is also, how about this? And let me say this: he's also a pulmonologist, an active pulmonologist, a retired full bird colonel, who happened to be in the same hospital that happened with my son. So I go back to telling you, he was pulmonary hypertension, right? This was actually his field. So when my wife was shedding tears every day, man, it was only one person. I could give her a hug, but he could explain everything to her. You understand what I'm saying? So not only was he to be under a pastor who was able to minister, biblically, but also be able to give it to you medically. It's just a blessing. But people think, okay, 2009. But actually, I received my call in Bastrop, and I ran for years. Man, right down the street from the house, and it was just it was just a blessing. I ran for years, knowing that calling was on me.
Used to play preacher a lot when we were small too. I remember that. I remember that.
You know what I used to do? I actually used to impersonate your granddaddy. So he was man. Your grandfather, man. If y'all don't know Deacon Addison, man, I didn't know Deacon Addison. He was such a blessing. I probably ate more tuna fish sandwiches at his house than anything, as much as I stayed over y'all house. But man, just to hear him, and when they would do the hymns, and he would sit on that 2-seater bench, and when he would hit that note, man, I used to love it, and I used to play with it all the time. Yeah, but that's what actually I used to impersonate all the time. Play in church.
Mr. Henry, aka to my brothers and our Paw. Yeah.
Paw.
Yeah,
Papa actually took care of me. I got knocked out in you. I don't know if you remember. I got knocked out in y'all yard one day, and actually I think it was Muncie. So I decided I wanted to pitch one day, and Muncie hotlined me. I was pitching, and I still have a little dent in my nose to prove it. So I'm still looking for your brother, man. You got to pay some medical bills or something. So yeah, but he knocked me out, man. I just remember your folks putting ice on my face, man. It was. So those are those wonderful memories I have in Bastrop. Man. The ministry now is just taking me a lot of different places. So it's just growing and going. So right now, like I said, just getting ready to get back into the rites of passage, which is a great program where we take the kids at the start of the year, and what they'll do is they'll learn as they're going the cycle of a year, and we're talking about not just school, but we're talking about the cycle of registering to vote. So they'll learn how to vote. Then they'll vote for each other as far as the officers who will carry us that year. Then we transition them into Kwanzaa. We teach them, and every day we have them recite the principles of Kwanzaa because that's foundational for us at our church. Because we are very Afrocentric to the point where we want people to understand it's not enough to just praise God, but you have to have a made up mind to how you're going to do it among each other and push each other forward. And then after that, we come out of Black history and then into our speech and debate. So you should be very familiar with that, obviously, with that speech and debate. We pull that right out of Wiley. We always give them that speech and debate video to let them know that everything's possible. And as far as the LLC, Patrick B. Stewart LLC, what I'm doing right now is just making sure that I'm active, getting out, doing my motivational speaking, getting out with the person. But the main thing is the military education consultant. And that is basically at the medical education training campus. We have over 50 programs, allied health allied health programs. Those allied health programs, when these kids come into the military, what they're doing is they're sitting in a classroom, no different than when you go out to Southern or Grambling, wherever you go. And as you get that lesson, they go to their duty stations. They have the military training, but they don't necessarily have the college credit. So the goal of the military education program is to educate colleges that they can bridge with us. And when they bridge with us, they, say, for instance, Southern can come down and look over an allied health program, and then that allied health program would say, hey, you know what, your dental program matches the curriculum with our dental program. We're willing to award you 24 credit hours. So when our person goes out with their certification in the first year of their training, they then can double back to Southern online, and then what they can do is they can then take the general electives, and in 2 years they have their associate's degree. So it makes it for an easier transition for our young people. If they want to just do 4 years and get out, they're not hampered with having to just necessarily say, man, I'm steady just, spinning my wheels. Look here, give yourself 4 years, and then you can make the decision if you want to stay in or not. But you're going to leave here with a degree, and that's my goal for the students, and to educate these universities as I go forward.
Well, are you targeting Pacific? Are you doing community college, NAIA? What Pacific universities that you're targeting?
Well, right now I'm looking at we have allied health programs, so really we're looking at any college campuses with allied health programs. I would like to really start with HBCUs. That's just my heart to go with those HBCUs. But as we go forward, we just want to make sure that everybody's taken care of. HBCUs have been left out of the Degree Bridge program. The only one that we currently have out of over 80 programs is Hampton University. And so I've gotten a chance to actually go up there and visit it while I was at the station at Langley. Beautiful campus, but they offer a lot online as well. So, but to get these SWAC schools, I mean, that's the heart. That's my heart. I'm SWAC to the heart. NAIA, like I said, I had the ability to go down Wiley and vibe with those guys down there. But just really encouraging young people who are in high school to start looking at that as a route. That's my other portion of that. So if they want to go and say, you know what, I need to be, I want to have my school paid for, but I still want to be there. That way you can knock out two birds with one stone. That's my goal.
Right. A lot of people don't advocate for the military, but, since I've been doing my research and following you, you kind of remind me of you being the lead guy on MASH. Remember the story, the show MASH?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and that's what your program kind of sounded to me like. You give them an alternative to be in the military, but not have to throw bullets and bombs at everybody. Am I correct?
That's correct. So if I could get a kid in middle school to already start thinking about medical, all right, then we can do that. My other goal right now is that I'm eyeballing. I haven't attacked it yet. I'm eyeballing cybersecurity, all right? So Grambling, for instance, has just had a cybersecurity program open up. So we have cybersecurity training here. So there's, in my viewpoint, there's no way that they shouldn't be in the talks of bridging at some point. I've also talked to some friends over in Dallas who are working for Boeing and Raytheon. So we're going to try to make sure that those engineers, as they start recruiting engineers, I mean, these are all options to pay for school to get the hours out of the way. Again, I'm not advocating for you to do 20 years. I'm one of those persons who really believes in the military for what it is. We have to understand that when we talk about housing and we talk about the military historically, right? We talk about all those members who served in Vietnam and Korean War, all these African Americans who served who never really got the benefits, but we were able to see other communities benefit, and they were able to. We know that they were able to generate money off of their houses. All right, they were able to pass down houses. This is how they made money in their family. What I'm simply asking a young person to do is consider this. If you join for 4 years, and I can get you to a point where you can get educated for 4 years, come on out and then use your VA benefits. Where I bought 2 homes, I can just say I bought 2 homes, and neither home have I had to put anything down. So that's the blessing. But though there's other communities outside of our own who've been doing this. this wasn't anything that was given to us necessarily. So I think about the, like the Mid-Kaisers and all these, these other greats that have gone on in Bastrop. The other ones, these men were able to come out of the military and get their GI Bills and everything else and get those educations and able to return. So we have to, but somebody tainted us to say, no, you don't want to go do this. You don't want to do this. That's because we were being made aware of the benefits of it. So we have to get back to the benefits of the military and not necessarily saying that 20 years, but being able to make an impact for our family and, project them to a new height.
Right. And that's a beautiful thing that you're doing, Sergeant Stewart, because I noticed ROTC programs are kind of building up, especially in our area around here. It's another alternative for kids who may not be athletic or may not be as socially inclined as others. It kind of goes hand in hand. It gives them a way out to be themselves, but yet gain some discipline. And I believe the program you have, it would be good for Bastrop High because, like I said, the ROTC program is really growing along with the band. And I think the program that you have and what you're offering, I think it's that alternative that we've been looking for. Kind of explain to the people, when it's all said and done, where would you like to see your LLC as a broad scope?
Ultimately, what I would like to see is universities call upon me to assist them in the process of actually partnering with the medical education training campus and other campuses across the military. Because, again, we're going to step outside the allied health and start tracking down other career fields, criminal justice, and so on, so we can make easier paths for our people, not only to just go in and then be able to transition out with experience and the ability to have their education paid for. That is my ultimate goal, and to be called upon as an expert in that area. Right now, nobody's really doing it as a whole. So I'm stepping out, and actually, this is my first time actually putting it out live to anyone. So this is just something I've been working on, and I'm being actually one of my mentors, retired Master Chief, is actually over the program. So it's just a blessing to be able to sit on the people who think that much of you. He and I met at an advisory school panel. Again, I also work as affiliated school liaison for the community college of the Air Force, and basically what I do is for them is I sit and I make sure that all of our instructors are credentialed, all of them are meeting their internships and getting through, because these are hours that transfer over to should they want to get out and do troops to teachers and become teachers. I want to make sure that they're lined up to do that and they have those qualifications. But that's ultimately to be able to make that call to say, you know what, our university needs more diversity. Our university needs the ability to recruit. I want them to be able to call me and I can be able to assist. That is the ultimate goal.
Right.
And also, again, to the middle schools, to be able to guide them to even come to speak to them and say, hey, now is the time that you start preparing them before they take that ASVAB, and now before you know it, they're sitting on the front lines. Now, nothing's wrong with if you want to go infantry, but if that's not where you have to be, then my brother and my sister, don't do it. Go ahead, prepare yourself now to get the job. And sometimes as youth, what we do is we're so short-sighted, and we think, no, I don't want to be a nerd. No, you need to be prepared to take tests that you will have to take at the end of the day. And even during Iraq, man, I sat with some people at night from down south New Orleans, and what we talked about was the fact that in that area of New Orleans, a lot of them recruit expendable people that are going to be put on the front line. My goal is to educate them before they ever get there, because there are schools for that. Brother, there's schools for that are actually generating young nurses right now. We need to put that in our community, and if we don't do it through the school system, we need to be able to find some way where we can start educating our young people on how to be proficient in medical speak, because terminology scares us from so many things, whether it be medical, law, or whatever. If we can get past the terminology and get past that fear, we're going to be all right. And that's what that was the other thing I just really enjoyed with my students. I said, look, if I can learn this, anybody can learn this. And when they saw the genuineness of it, they understood what I was talking about.
Right, and I can hear in your voice that you prepared a lot of young men and women to be proficient and productive citizens, not only in the military, but throughout their lives. For the last 5 minutes or so, I want you to speak to the Bastrop, man, to the Bastronians, as Mr. Gary Eve has labeled it. I want them to hear from Minister Stewart. I know you know what's going on in the city. It's a decline at a rapid pace, and we need sparks like you to lift us back up and maybe be that spark that'll make this thing keg up and make Bastrop explode again. Talk to the people about how you're feeling about what you're hearing about your great city, Scrap City.
Thank you, brother. Bastrop, Louisiana, I just want to say first and foremost, I love you. I thank you for making me who I am and sowing into me so greatly as a youth. I know that the people who are still there, who help, I'm so appreciative of them, the educators, the ditch diggers, the community people, the trash man, wherever you are, my friends, you sowed into me, and I'm so appreciative of you. Here's what I really want you to understand. I was able to walk those streets at night, and I was able not in fear, because I knew that everybody I was going to come across knew who I was, and I knew who they were. I knew their families. I knew that they were to be good people. What I can tell you is you're still that city. You're still that light on the hill. And what you need to do right now is you need to look left and look right, and you need to make sure that you understand that there is a phrase that goes around that's called "it is what it is," and it needs to disappear. It needs to get out of your vocabulary. If you put trash in your body, trash will come out. So what are we going to do? We're going to replace "it is what it is" because because we allow it to be. We need to stop allowing things to be. You know the city that you live in. These who have come before you, who have talked about the greatness of the city, that greatness is still there. There is a foundation. There is a root that is still there. You came up in it. We all came up in it. And what we now have to do is we have to find our youth, all right? And we have to tell them, you're the next one. You're the next great one. And greatness looks different to everybody. Greatness is not you have to go to the pros. Greatness is not you have to be a general. Greatness is not you have to be a six-figure person. Greatness is about having peace in your house. Greatness is about having a character that somebody says, I trust him, having that integrity. You have that in Bastrop. You have leaders who are among you, but what we need to do is stop the infighting. It's not about religion. It's not about finances. It's about love. And when we start loving each other again like we used to, that is to say, if we love each other, we correct each other. Accept correction. All right? When we do it. This is how we correct each other. I mean, this is how we move forward. You still have the greatness. The soil is still producing greatness. But I also want to say this. You're also under the sound of my voice in Bastrop, and you are one of those ones who are doing the wrong thing. You grew up with us. It's not right. You know it's not right. You know that's not the way it should be. And if that's the way you choose your life, then I ask you, I implore you, leave the youth alone. Let your life be your life. Let them grow up. Steer them to somebody who can get them better. All right? We always knew that there were always going to be people who just didn't get right. But what we didn't have in Bastrop, we didn't have people gravitating to them. We didn't have their voices in everybody's ear. Step back. Allow those of us who love this city to groom this city and grow this city and get it back to where they are. Call on our elders. Call on our elders. Let them speak before the people. I call on our church leaders. Get together. Have a forum. Have our elders speak. Create that circle. Let our young people know that the circle has not broken. We just have to push out all the negatives. So that, I know I've said a lot, but man, bottom line is the greatness is still there. We just have to make sure that we do that. You know, Dr. Alexander said something to my uncle that has always stuck with me. It's like he had ability to go to Southern University, or he could have gone to the Air Force Academy, and his words were simply, "It's okay to be different." Young people, it's okay to be different. You don't have to do it as everybody else does it, but success is still yours for the taking.
Wow.
Continue to tune into this podcast. Continue to tune into leaders who are going places. And more than anything, man, reach out to me. If you got any questions, I'm here for you because I love you, Bastrop. Strop City.
Wow. And we love you too, Put, man. I just want to let you know, we came up together, and bro, you was like a big brother, and you were right about, we always looked at you being a leader. What we going to play at today, Put? What side of town we going to play against today? We was waiting on you. And to see you come from little mean fighting Put to minister, retired E6, Sgt.Patrick Dewayne Stewart, man, I love you, bro, and I'm proud of you, man. And I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
One, I just want to shout out, I'm just always so grateful and thankful to my mom, Shirley Stewart, and people like your mom, Letty, the voices that carried me through those years, man, with the Songs of Zion, Zion Edition, and all those who really carried me through, and I'm forever grateful to them. Last but not least, I just want to send a shout-out to the class of 92 as they gather this year for the 30th year reunion. As I even talk about these leaders that are there, class of 92 has so many leaders and so many great people who came out of that class. Continue to love on each other. If I can't make it down and see you guys, just know that my heart is with you. And I've missed you ever since I left. All right? So, but yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, Put, we love you, man, and hope we can get you back real soon. Hey, I'm your host, Maserati. This has been brought to you by Patrick Dewayne Stewart, LLC, Burcell Family Insurance Agency, and Stepping Stones, LLC of Jonesboro, Louisiana, and Involve Social and Civic Club, where we understand the social and civic need of love, learn, live, and laugh. Until next time, y'all get involved. Y'all stay encouraged. And most of all, y'all stay immersed. We out of this thing.
I was raised in the ghetto. I've been to the bottom. Ain't nothing at the bottom for me. Only tell all my problems. Seems he can only solve it for me. I was raised in the ghetto. See, struggle ain't no stranger to me. I grind hard for the paper. I think the top is where I'm destined to be.
I ain't never been no crash, I'm in love with fast money. I hate that.